Gambia, we are waiting for the inauguration of the president, Adama Barrow, for his second term. There was an election on December 4th, and he won. This is the first election in more than 20 years that Yahya Jammeh, the former dictator, is not taking part in. This is the first democratic elections in a while. So it was a very interesting election in the number of turnout. More than 83% of registered voters have come out to vote. The campaign was really interesting because all parties had the possibility of doing their campaign freely, and they had the possibilities of paying television to do their campaign because there were no private television in the Gambia during Jammeh's time. I would say the election was free and fair because I was part of the observers. From a civil society standpoint, yes, there are things that the Electoral Commission can't improve, but there is no irregularities that will impact the outcome of the election. So when it comes to Senegal, we're going to have the municipal elections on January 23rd. There have been also tensions. It's just crazy how expensive it has become. Basic commodities, bread price that the government has been subsidizing has increased. Last month, late November, early December, the transport union was on strike for 3 days. There were no transport of any type of transport actually going around except private vehicles. So that had a blow on the economy. Because they also have issues and they're asking for improved working conditions. All the sectors have issues. Here, the students have been on strike. In one of the university, a student apparently died of food poisoning. So that has created strikes, and other universities have been also gone on strike to support their fellow students in the Bombay University. The main issues we are seeing, I would say, for both countries is the problem of transparency, problems of good governance, problems of an independent judiciary, that's specifically in Senegal, because the judiciary in the Gambia has improved a lot compared to Jammeh's time. Lack of employment. In Senegal, 65% of the population are under 35. That's data from 2020. So for 2021, I'm sure that 65% has increased. In the Gambia, the last data I had was almost 70% of the population are under 30. So it shows the huge number of young people that you have in these countries that need education, they need help, they need an income generating activity, they need jobs. And the jobs that the government are creating are not enough. The main problem is good governance, management, respect for human rights, because as a citizen, you have the right to education, you have the right to health, you have the right to access so many things. If the basic essential of a society, you are not able to provide that for yourself, or the government is unable to provide health, education, and create an environment for you to be able to have an income generating activity, then there is a problem. Most of these bad governance and lack of transparency is related to, of course, the executive. And in Senegal, those things related to the executive are spilling on to the legislative and to the judiciary. So it's the whole arm of governance that are impacted by it. In the Gambia, if there's anything that I would say that's needed right now, it's equal opportunities. If there's an equal distribution of wealth, I don't think some of the socioeconomic problems that we have in society, at least most of them, we won't be having them. But those are issues that are big problems right now in both countries. The civil society organization and political parties, specifically from the opposition, trade unions, have organized mega protest in Dakar, and the goal was to ask for good governance, transparency, and to improve the socio-economic aspects of society. The activists have been trying to hold this protest for a while now. That was the only time they were allowed to have it. But the two previous times rejected for the protest to be held. Africtivist is a Pan-African organization. We cover the continent. The protest in which we had a bigger role was the protest in March. We worked with other young civil society organizations to support hashtag that was launched, and we all participated in some of the protests actually that was calling for equal rights, for the respect for human rights, because during that protest, 14 people were killed. And until now, we are not aware of any investigation opened by government, to determine responsibility regarding those deaths. So that's something that we played a big role online in making sure that there is a website for Free Senegal, and on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, there were, tweets that were all in English, but also in French, so that we can tell the world what was happening in the country. So that was a huge mobilization for us in Senegal as an organization and as individuals as well. The future I see personally for these countries is a future of peace, of security, of respect for human rights, of access to basic essentials, that's health, education, water, electricity. For the governments to create opportunities for us, young people, others, to be able to have jobs if they want, to be able to create successful enterprises if they want, but at least a future where there are enough potentials so that young people will no longer take the Mediterranean Sea to migrate to Europe, risking their lives. They won't be taking the Sahara Desert, risking their life for greener pastures they're not even assured of, so that we can live in peace, and young people won't be taking up arms and joining terror groups because they think the policies that those people are proposing could be better than the one we have with our governments. The reasons for all these three is because of bad governance and lack of transparency, because of selfishness. In most African cultures, I know your word makes you who you are. Words are sacred. But now we have politicians who would say one thing today and say or do another tomorrow. So when words are no longer sacred, it opens the doors for anything. Because as an authority figure, you should have that moral principle that what I say, I have to do everything possible to make it happen. If I can't make it happen, I should have the courage to go back to my people and explain all the reasons why it didn't happen.